Teddy.
You can read a book back there, Grady. Read the whole daggone book and bring a second one.
Oh!
We're going McCarthy.
That's right!
Yeah! Don't go on him. Oh!
Because you just took that from me, I can't read the rest of the list. Yeah. So it's Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy with 11 and Bill Belichick with 10 each.
I'll be back.
Yeah! We had a breathing coach. I think we went 1-15 that season. They might have been coming to check if we were breathing. And I'm sorry you went through that. I know the rule of 3, but if we're going to do D's notes, I feel like there should only be 2 notes. We just want to Peyton Manning.
Greeny hates me. It's close.
So much fun here this week. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If we start your day with a smile on your face, then we have done our job. And what a weekend we are ready for here. We got the 4 NFL playoff games. We got the national championship game featuring Jordan Clark and Notre Dame against Ohio State. Monday night, all that and more. Hour number 2 starts now, live from the Seaport, brought to you by Chase. NFL divisional weekend. Let's get Friday forecasts for this weekend's games. First up, Saturday, right here on ESPN and ABC. Texans, Chiefs. Mike T, give me a forecast for that game.
Kansas City wins, but Patrick Mahomes gets sacked 5 times, Greeny. This Houston Texan defense now, it can travel and it can rush the passer. Top 5 all season in meaningful pass rush statistics. We know about Kansas City's offensive line. It struggled all season long. Kansas City wins. Patrick Mahomes gets hit repeatedly.
Okay, I like it, and we'll have a pick on that one a little later. Second Saturday game, the other 1 seed coming off a bye. RC, Friday forecast, Commanders, Lions.
Jaden Daniels cements himself in immortality if he wins this game. It's the greatest rookie season of all time, not just in what he's done individually, because it may already be that along with guys like Jim Brown and Gale Sayers, got that from Himbo. But if he wins this game against a team that they're outmatched against a team that their roster doesn't match up against, it will be because he was just that good.
Sunday, Rams, Eagles, Bart, Friday forecast.
Hey, are you not entertained? I tell you what, it has to be Jalen Hurts. He can't be Michelle. He's going to have to be Beyonce. You can't let Saquon Barkley steal the show.
No Michelle slander.
Well, okay, we love Michelle. My bodies. But I tell you what, Jalen Hurts is going to have to step up. He's going to have to make some throws with his legs because I can't see Sean McVay. We talked about the stat, never allowing a team to rush for 100 yards in a game. Jalen Hurts is going to have to make some throws to A.J. Brown and tell him to put down the damn book.
And then finally, the most anticipated game, Graz. How about the Ravens and the Bills? You'll be there.
James Cook will have more rushing yards than Derrick Henry. The Bills will get out early at home, and they'll be able to run the ball in weather that is going to be, as I understand it, fairly cold. That's the other part of the Friday forecast is the weather in Orchard Park, New York, which I think we had a graphic.
Let me show it to you here, everybody. Speaking of Friday forecast, it is going to be temperature around 13 degrees. The feels like temperature -3. 65% chance for snow. And the reporter covering that game for us will be Dan Orlovsky. Dan Graziano.
Orlovsky doesn't have that in him. He's not built like that.
He ain't built like that. Played his whole career indoors.
You're warming up now, right?
We're doing a bit. We're doing a bit about the cold. Yeah. I don't know if you know. Like, it's not actually cold in here.
Yeah.
This is for. I'm getting my mind right.
Are you prepared? I would be. Here's the God's honest truth. The temperature would intimidate me as a reporter. I can't even fathom what it's like as a player.
I always have the option to go inside. That's the thing. Like, between hits and everything, like, I'll be okay. At the end of the game, standing there waiting for it to end to do the interview, it'll be cold.
So
but as you can see, I'm ready.
He ain't out there like Lisa Salters, who got to brave it for 4 hours.
Exactly right.
All kidding aside, and
all kidding aside,
and obviously there's no way in the world we can put aside the kidding while Graziano is dressed like that. But you football players, they don't care about the cold. It has to matter. There's no way in the world it's -3 and it doesn't matter at all.
You know what would matter to me? If I was playing in -3 and you were playing in 65. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we all play in the same thing. We all have to dig deep and figure it out. And in truth, this is where the toughest of players want to show that. This is where the most physical of players want to show that. Did you see Deion Dawkins pull last week against the Denver Broncos and dang near knocked somebody's whole right side off?
Yes.
You know why he wants to do that? Because he wants to show, in no matter whatever weather and no matter whatever climate, I can be the toughest man on the field. Everybody from the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens is going to feel like that. When Derrick Henry is running the football, he's going to think to himself, they don't want to hit me because it's going to hurt. Josh Allen's going to feel the same way. And whatever players can put the elements out of their mind and understand that it's still just football. And the biggest man and the baddest man and the toughest man wins, understands how you got to go out and play this game. Right. And I expect both teams to have that outlook.
Yeah, it won't be any intimidation from a physical part, but mentally you have to compartmentalize and understand what your advantages are. The ball is slick, and what happens is you want to be able to steal some possessions. So understanding that who's going to be smart to get that turnover, who's going to steal a possession for the offense, who's going to punch the ball out, who's going to be the second man in. We used to say in these type of games, hold them up. Don't let them fall to the ground. Hold them up so we can get 3 hits on them instead of 1, and you use the ground as a weapon. And, like RC knows, those shoulder pads become weapons as well because they stiff it up. Yeah. They're plastic. I've seen guys' helmets get cracked in the cold weather because of that. Lamar Jackson's going to have to be a guy that's going to use his legs as well. He's tremendous. You saw they're going to say, I am not going to allow Derrick Henry to rush for 200 yards this time. And Lamar Jackson's going to have to do that. He lost weight last year because he didn't have the extra turbo in his giddy-up. He lost weight for this particular reason. He didn't put himself at risk at much during the regular season. I expect Lamar Jackson to be all out this week.
I see it differently. In a game that, of course. In a game that's so close, that's truly 50-50, I think the elements really favor Buffalo because they practice in it, they play in it, and Graz was saying earlier, like this week alone, Baltimore's practicing indoors, and that's like when we think about fourth quarter, 1-possession game, who's more used to these elements? And look, taking nothing away from Baltimore, who easily can win this game, I think the weather is
I would say this as a player. Here's why I disagree.
Yes.
The advantage is when you got to go to Tampa week 1 and you've practiced in Pittsburgh all of training camp. It's when you got to go Miami week 1 and you practice in Pittsburgh all training camp. That's what's difficult because your body isn't acclimated to that sort of humidity, that sort of heat. Cold is cold.
Right.
Everybody is cold. But the one thing about it is on the sideline, you got a heated bench. I'm chilling on the sideline. And when I'm on the field, you better believe I'm more worried about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson than I am the cold. And so for me, it's about who understands how to play their football in the elements. We have 2 teams that love to add an extra lineman. 2 teams that can run the football physically. The defense that combats that the best puts themselves at an advantage.
Well, so Graziano just made what I thought was an unbelievable Friday forecast that James Cook winds up out rushing Derrick Henry, because here's another way that I sometimes...
He had that hood over his eyes.
I didn't expect you to agree.
I can oversimplify things. I understand that sometimes. But, like, to me, the conditions and whatever else, one team has Derrick Henry and the other one doesn't. Derrick Henry in his career in the playoffs has been a weapon. He took Tennessee to the AFC Championship game. Derrick Henry is an unstoppable force used correctly.
And I don't know if anybody's talked about this on the show, but the amount of times there were called runs on the first drive last week for the Baltimore Ravens. Here's why that's important. For an entire offseason, we talked about Todd Monken going away from the run against the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe he wanted to prove a point and prove it early. Lamar Jackson's going to carry the ball. Derrick Henry is going to carry the ball, and we're going to play through our physicality.
Justice Hill killed Buffalo the first game. 78 yards, touchdown. He's a matchup nightmare. I think they run the ball over and over and wear him down so that when Derrick Henry gets to the third and fourth quarter, you can't tackle him physically. You can't tackle him. You talk about James Cook. He's a guy that runs around you. Derrick Henry runs through you. It's a different effect.
I think that's all true, but the other element of this game is Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, and Teron Johnson. 3 of the Bart. I know you're Raven,
Mike Tannenbaum, I promise you this. Todd Monken is in his meeting right now saying, when we go 21 and 12 personnel, if they put number 7 out there and Patrick Ricard, if you don't park him on them damn Gatorade jugs,
blind
throw him on top of one of these heaters, I'm taking you out the game. If they do that, they will run until next week.
And Sean McDermott in his meetings is saying, hey, we are going to stop the run. We are going to stop the run, and if we're going to lose, we're going to make Lamar Jackson beat us because we're not going to give up 271 yards.
So you can't stop it with
tell me this. How can it be about physics when it comes to the Rams and the Eagles, but it can't be about physics when you got a 300-pound fullback and a 250-pound tailback versus a sub package? How is that not physics?
With two small backers.
Right. Make it make sense. I don't care if Milano's there. Didn't I just watch Derrick Henry step on Patrick Queen's chest last week?
Bart.
There is no doubt that Baltimore is going to try to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to, but they're not going to run for 271 yards.
Okay,
and that could be the difference in this game.
Can I mention one other thing here, or actually have Dan mention it? There is a significant injury factor, significant injury factor in this game involving the Ravens and Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers hasn't practiced this week, missed last week's game against the Steelers. Obviously, it didn't matter against the Steelers last week, but he is their leading receiver, and to the extent that they want or need to throw the ball, they'll be down a man, it looks like. Could he be practicing today and be fine? Sure, but it doesn't sound like they're going to get him back for this game.
Quickly, how much of it, we're sitting here talking about physicality, how much of a factor
I think that's huge in this sense. If the Buffalo Bills decide they're going to change the way they play defense, add somebody else in the box, go single high, Zay Flowers is a man-to-man winner, right? He wins in the route combinations, in the route trees, and I do think he'll be missed in that part of the game.
He had one catch in the first game.
Right.
If you talk about making it, I got it, but when you talk about making it a man's game, then the advantage goes because Isaiah Likely, if you decide to bring big guys in there, he's unstoppable as well.
Mark Andrews, too.
Isaiah Likely literally dribbled a man on the field last week. So we will see what winds up happening. We have more on this game to come, including what is at stake legacy-wise for both quarterbacks. But we also have Joe Fortenbaugh here for those just joining us with his best bets all day long. Give me a best bet from Ravens and Bills.
I want you to take everything you were just listening to up there on the table. Eskimo Dan talking about Zay Flowers, RC talking about the run game, Mike T and Bart talking physics, and apply it all together and go under 51.5 total points. Look at Denver last week in their matchup against these Buffalo Bills. All right, that Denver defense was facing a Buffalo front that was putting 6 offensive linemen on the field regularly. That wasn't just for the Denver game. That was to get set for this game, right? The best way to beat the Ravens, keep Lamar Jackson off the field. 6 offensive linemen, hand the ball off, run the clock down, snap the ball again. On the other side, what does Baltimore want to do? We've been talking about it all morning. Run the football. It was a fool's errand throwing it as much as they did against Kansas City last week. 2 teams that want to run. 2 teams that are going to take their time. Under 51.5 total points.
Plus the weather, obviously, a little bit later in Greeny versus Joe. I might have grabbed.